tide. When the storm gets rough, we ain't gonna hide. Propaganda swirling, but it won't touch me. Only love around, that's how it's gonna be. Keep moving forward, never looking back. The truth's in the power, it's an unstoppable track. In the city lights where dreams collide, we hustle through the night, fire in our stride. Whispers in the dark can't dim my glow. With rhythm in my soul, I'm ready for the show. We break the chains, rewrite the rules in this concrete jungle where nobody's fools. Unity sings louder than the lies they scheme. In the heart of the struggle, we dare to dream. Keep moving forward, never looking back. The truth's in the power, it's an unstoppable track.
Another Queen Ahmadiyyah production.
Haze on the corner, they talking real loud. Spreading on light, trying to bring me down. Enemies lurking, but I won't back away. Got a vision in my mind, I'm here to stay. Got my crew beside me, we rise like a tide. When the storm gets rough, we ain't gonna hide. Propaganda swirling, but it won't touch me. Only love around, that's how it's gonna be. Keep moving forward, never looking back. The truth's in the power, it's an unstoppable track. In the city lights where dreams collide, we hustle through the night, fire in our stride. Whispers in the dark can't dim my glow. With rhythm in my soul, I'm ready for the show. We break the chains, rewrite the rules in this concrete jungle where nobody's fools. Unity sings louder than the lies they scheme. In the heart of the struggle, we dare to dream. Keep moving forward, never looking back. The truth's in the power, it's an unstoppable track. Haze on the corner, they talking real loud. Spreading on light, trying to bring me down. Enemies lurking, but I won't back away. Got a vision in my mind, I'm here to stay. Got my crew beside me, we rise like a tide. When the storm gets rough, we ain't gonna hide. Propaganda swirling, but it won't touch me. Only love around, that's how it's gonna be. Keep moving forward, never looking back. The truth's in the power, it's an unstoppable track. In the city lights where dreams collide, we hustle through the night, fire in our stride. Whispers in the dark can't dim my glow. With rhythm in my soul, I'm ready for the show. We break the chains, rewrite the rules in this concrete jungle where nobody's fools. Unity sings louder than the lies they scheme. In the heart of the struggle, we dare to dream.
Right. Hello, everyone. Thanks for tuning back in once again to the original Queen Ahmadiyyah Shakur show. I'm your host, Queen Ahmadiyyah Shakur, and this is your daily vitamins. So as you're coming in, please feel free to go ahead and subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. Be sure to click that notification bell and click the word all so you're notified each time Queen Goddess goes live. All right. Now let's see who is in here. All right, DJ Big Six, Christopher. All right, Claudette, Perplex. Mel is here. All right, let's get into it. Andrea, Hadassah is here. All right, so shout out to all of my loyal royals and everyone tuned into the Queen. I see you, Deronda, and Khalid is here. And a big shout out to my moderators because y'all know they be putting in work. Most Hated Bronze Flat Power Guide is in the chat. All right, so let's get this party started. All right, I see you, Daniela. Reggie is in the house. All right. Okay, so without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. Hey, Pretty Wings, I'm going to have a brief word from my sponsor, okay, from 12 Tribes. Lights up, everyone. Please don't forget to like and share. Double check to make sure you're still subscribed because you know people mysteriously become unsubscribed every day. All right?
Do not buy 12 Tribes on Earth hair growth oil and hair magic elixir unless you want super healthy, gorgeous hair that grows. They have a whole line of amazing hair growth products, including hair growth leave-in conditioner spray, hair growth shampoo, hair growth spray, and hair growth butter. I'm starting to sense a theme here. They include quality natural ingredients. They smell amazing, and you can see the results for yourself. So if you're looking for healthy hair growth for your natural or relaxed hair, try 12 Tribes on Earth today.
All right. So don't forget you can purchase 12 Tribes hair oil at Etsy.com. Just look for Lisa Crafts. And you can also find it at Walmart.com. Okay, and so that all being said, let's get ready to get into it. This is a very sad story we're going to talk about. Well, before we get into that, let's talk about Diddy, because I don't know if you all know, but they released Diddy's they announced his release date. Hold on, beloveds. They announced his release date. So let's talk about that really quick. Diddy's prison release date revealed after bombshell trial and sentencing. Okay, Sean Diddy Combs will be eligible. Oh, these nefarious pop-ups will be eligible for prison release in 2028. Okay, they say the exact date is May the 8th of 2028. All right. Now, in addition to the 50-month sentence, Diddy will have 5 years of supervised release and pay a $500,000 fine. Prosecution recommended 135 months, just over 11 years for his sentencing. His lawyer, Tini Garagos, filed a letter on October the 6th asking that Judge Aaron Subramanian ask the Bureau of Prisons to suggest court dates for her client. In the letter obtained by Fox News Digital, Garagos said that Combs would be able to address drug abuse issues and maximize family visitation and rehabilitative efforts in the prison's RDAP program. Okay, and in that program, you can get at least up to at least 12 months off your sentence. Now, according to FCI Fort Dix's website, the prison contains just over 4,100 male inmates. The prison holds about 3,900, and the minimum security satellite camp houses around 200. Now, the prison is on the Military Air Force Base in southern New Jersey. It's 90 minutes from New York and an hour from Philadelphia, which is one reason Leonard believes the facility appeals to Combs. Okay, now the Bureau of Prisons will ultimately decide where Combs serves his sentence. A jury convicted Diddy on 2 counts of transportation engaged in prostitution on July the 2nd. All right. Now, the prosecution claimed Diddy deserves a substantial prison sentence because the rapper is unrepentant in the sentencing recommendation filed earlier this month. Okay. So, anyway, with that all been said, they say days before Diddy was set to appear in court for his sentencing, Judge Subramanian rejected the rapper's last-ditch request for a new trial and demand for a full acquittal. The federal judge said the prosecution provided overwhelming evidence of Diddy's guilt on the charges of transportation to engage in prostitution. Okay, so what do y'all think about that? What do y'all think about that? Hold on, beloveds. Now, what I find interesting, you all do know, hold on. Okay. Pearl said, I don't care, Queen. Christmas said, so for every one day he serves is 3 in time. Queen Hewitt said, the time will fly by. Well, yeah, it absolutely will. I mean, time goes by fast anyway, right? So with that all being said, let's go ahead and get into all of this other information. You got people out here just telling all kinds of lies. Okay, I'm not going to call no names, but y'all know who the liar is on YouTube, the biggest liar. Out here telling people that Trump is trying to charge Diddy 100. Well, last week they said Trump was trying to charge Diddy $150 million for a pardon. This week, today, they said $300 million. Okay, I don't know. Some people are crazy. And then the other day they were talking about saying something about 90% of Americans have aneurysms and don't know it, just talking crazy and saying that it's a normal anomaly. I'm sorry, but that's an oxymoron because an anomaly isn't normal. It's not a normal occurrence, is it? Honey, yes, dangerous. It is weak too, honey. You already guessed it. Okay, you already guessed it. Everybody knows who the big liar is. Okay, so now with that all being said, let's get into it. Where do I want to start? Let's talk about this poor woman who was actually murked by the police in Ohio in a hospital. This story is very sad. Okay, at the end of the day, I mean, it's not unbelievable because we know the police do all kinds of things, but this was real crazy to me. This woman she was a double amputee. Okay, she had no legs, and you're going to tell me the police could not restrain her without taking her life? Okay. Let's get into it. Likes up, everyone, please. Like and share. Thank you in advance. And this actually happened a while ago, but the video footage from the body cam came out today. Okay, they have released that. So we're going to take a look at it because they showed it on the news. Okay, so a significant failure. Experts cite mistakes in Cleveland hospital restraint death. Tasha Grant told a deputy and hospital staff 23 times. Okay, 23 times she told them that she could not breathe. Instead of an evaluation, she got handcuffs and skepticism. Now, Tasha Grant said the words until she could not speak them anymore. I can't breathe, she repeated over and over and over, 23 times to Metro Health Medical Center staff, 3 hospital police officers, and the sheriff's deputy guarding her. You're yelling so you can breathe, said one of the officers who forcefully restrained her. Grant then gasped and moaned and then settled motionless onto her stomach while handcuffed to a hospital bed. Her death was later ruled a homicide. Now, the release Monday of 4 body camera videos capturing some of Grant's final days is spurring more questions from her family and medical experts about the restraint, which an autopsy found caused her death. So, and I also have the autopsy report. Only one other time in the past 3 years, and the Cuyahoga County Medical Examiner, or has the Cuyahoga County Medical Examiner made the same ruling. Now, 2 medical experts who reviewed the autopsy and the video footage for the Marshall Project, Cleveland said it appears that medical staff failed to monitor Grant's vital signs following the forceful restraint. So they obviously just walked out of the room, I guess. Grant's complaints of difficulty breathing, which she had voiced for days, were seemingly dismissed. So this woman had already been complaining about her breathing for days, even before this happened. So if you ask me, the medical staff, when they saw the police putting a pillow over her face, even if she hadn't been complaining about breathing, if I'm a nurse, a doctor, anyone in the hospital staff that's in the room and seeing this, I'm going to tell them, don't put that over her face. Are you trying to kill her? That's not the way you restrain someone, sir or ma'am. Okay, but they said nothing. And they knew that she had been complaining constantly of having difficulty breathing. Okay, she also was suffering from congestive heart failure. Okay, which absolutely someone suffocating you could make you go into cardiac arrest. Okay, because first of all, you get anxious and then you get, very upset and you're fearful. And when you're fearful, that's a high level of stress. So absolutely that could kill you. So attorneys representing Grant's estate condemned the tragic and completely unnecessary death in a statement Tuesday. Grant was experiencing a mental health crisis, but rather than treat her with compassion and professionalism, officers physically restrained her, ultimately causing her death, they said. Do you think I would have done this to someone who didn't look like me? Because I don't. I seriously don't. We never hear these stories about them. If we do, it's rarely ever. I think in my time of covering these stories, I've covered one where there was a white man who was killed by the police. He was having a mental health crisis. Okay. And they had him on the ground in front of his house trying to restrain him. He was on his face down, and he ended up dying because they were pushing his face into the ground. He couldn't breathe. That's the only one that I remember. Okay, so anyway, Grant, a 39-year-old double amputee with a myriad of health issues, arrived at the hospital from jail on May the 2nd after complaining of chest pain. Now, she died 3 days later after a 2-minute struggle with officers and the deputy. It only took 2 minutes for them to take her up out of here. So the force applied to Grant likely contributed to her death, according to experts, agreeing with the findings of the autopsy released in September. But the sedative injected into Grant's arm while pinned down may have also slowed her breathing to the point of stopping her heart, according to the experts. Her family should sue the police departments. They should sue the officers individually for their pension, and they need to be suing the hospital. Okay. And I'm going to try to reach out to them to make sure that that happens. But let me continue, because right now they said they're examining their options or whatever. I'm sure an attorney's going to talk to them. Okay. And so now, with that all being said, they questioned why the name of the they questioned why the name of the medication used at that moment, okay, was being used and its potential effects these are not specified in the autopsy report. Okay, why the name of it? So they didn't even put the name of whatever they gave her. They didn't list that. I find that very interesting. Now, the pathologist for the Cuyahoga County Medical Examiner's Office declined to discuss her findings. Isn't that interesting? She didn't want to talk. Now, a Metro Health spokesman also declined to comment on Grant's death, citing privacy concerns. Eric Jagger, a paramedic and national expert in the use of restraint, said the most alarming revelation from the videos is that Grant's persistent pleas for help were seemingly ignored or just dismissed. Now, he cited the officer who used her yelling as proof that she could still breathe. You know, when someone says they can't breathe, it doesn't mean that they can't breathe at all. They may be having difficulty breathing, which in itself is very scary. If you know someone who has asthma, I'm sure they could tell you the same. Okay, so that's some version of if you can speak, you can breathe, which we've said is a myth, says Jagger. Okay, when someone's saying I can't breathe, you have to take that seriously. Now, a special prosecutor has been assigned to weigh criminal charges. Cuyahoga County Sheriff Harold Pretel has rejected demands by the family's attorneys and community advocates to turn over the investigation to an independent agency. Yeah, because they don't trust them. Okay, we know how they do. So Grant, whose legs had been amputated years earlier, spent 15 days in the Cuyahoga County Jail after an April arrest at the Cleveland Clinic on disorderly conduct charges. Her attempts to seek medical care at local hospitals have ended in criminal charges stemming from confrontations with staff 10 times since August of 2024. Now, she got into a dispute with the deputies who drove her from the county jail to Metro Health Medical Center on May the 2nd, okay, according to body camera footage. Eventually, he uncuffed her from the hospital bed. Though it was late in the evening, he agreed to call her court-appointed attorney, whom she said she had yet to speak with. During the exchange, the deputy's body camera video shows Grant expressing anger and worry. I'm upset. I'm afraid. I'm scared, she told a nurse. Just before lunchtime on May the 5th, Grant was having nothing to do with the second sheriff deputy assigned to a shift to watch her that day. Now, she tipped her meal tray onto the floor. Video shows her doing this and speaking only to a nurse with whom she had a good rapport. They chatted like old friends. I'm already going through a lot of ish. I'm effing handicapped. This is what Grant was heard telling the nurse. The jail made me lose my effing legs. Don't nobody know the F how I feel. Don't nobody know the F how I feel. So let me say this. Yeah, so about the jail making her lose her legs. So she had alleged that when she went to jail at one point, they were not giving her medications as they were supposed to. She's supposed to take them every day at a specific time for the rest of her life. They were not giving them to her. And I can just imagine, because in jails, do they really care about the inmates? I don't think so. Okay, so anyway, that's why she had to end up getting her legs amputated, allegedly. Okay, so anyway, she missed her late mother, whom the nurse said she had also treated. Grant also wondered about her young child. Right now, everybody is pissing me the F off. I don't know where my kid is, okay? They took my baby from my baby dad. I don't know where my baby at right now. Don't nobody know how I feel. That evening, Grant sat on the floor, refusing to get back in bed. 3 Metro police officers pulled on latex gloves in the hallway. One turned to the latest deputy assigned to watch Grant that day. She put herself on the floor. This is what the officer asked. She put herself on the floor. Yeah, she tried walking out. Okay, she wasn't cuffed before. Why not? Not sure, said the deputy. I just got here and they said they weren't using cuffs on her. Yeah, because she had no legs. Where the hell is she going? She likely threw herself on the floor, some kind of way crawled down there, but she can't just get up and walk out. Okay, and they have to bring a wheelchair to your room, so she doesn't have that. So the Metro Health police officer asked where staff would inject the sedative in Grant and for their permission to reapply the handcuffs. They moved on Grant when she threatened to harm a nurse. Now Grant stopped gasping and went quiet in her bed. I'm sure you're not just supposed to leave the patient lying there without at minimum attaching devices to monitor pulse, respirations, and oxygen saturation. This is what Paul Parker, a former police officer with 3 decades of investigating deaths for major medical examiners' offices around the country, this is what he said. It's common sense. Okay, so Kevin Davis, a retired Akron police detective who testifies in court on use of force cases, said the officers acted appropriately to ensure that Grant did not harm herself or the staff. Putting a pillow over someone's face and smothering them is acting appropriately, sir. Okay, you see how they stick together? Because he knows that's not right. So anyway, police are instructed to roll handcuffed subjects onto their sides, he said, noting the officers' efforts to do so in the video. There was no excessive force and too much time lapsed after the officers left the room for their actions to have caused Grant's death. Yeah, well, I saw a pillow over her face, which you're going to see too when I show you. Grant the Cuyahoga County Sheriff's Department policy says people in its custody should not be placed on their stomachs for an extended period following a restraint to avoid interfering with their ability to breathe. Now, what happened in the next 14 minutes after the deputy adjusted Grant's handcuff and left with a nurse still in the room is unclear. When activated body cameras capture recordings of the prior 30 seconds of video without audio, okay, they say that's consistent with the first 3 videos. But the video depicting when Grant was found unresponsive is missing at least the first 30 seconds of video without audio. Instead, it begins with a nurse hysterically screaming while trying to revive Grant. Now, they don't show that part in the video. Some of this stuff, they said they could not show it on the news. Now, a county spokesperson would not answer questions about the discrepancy. Had nothing to say. Where's the 30 seconds of the video footage? Why is it missing conveniently? We don't know what happened, Jagger, the expert in emergency medical restraint, said, of the 14 minutes between the last 2 videos. A whole 14 minutes missing as well. And it's very frustrating, he says. They are definitely covering something up. Okay, I want y'all to pay attention. How the hell is 14 minutes missing? 14 whole minutes. That makes no sense at all. Likes up, everyone, please like and share. Now, here is the autopsy report. And we know how the Ohio police get down. How many stories have I reported on them? Okay. And so this is it right here. As you can see, Thomas P. Gilson, MD, is the medical examiner. Okay, there's the case number and all of that. It says, be it remembered that on the 5th day of May 2025, information was given to me, Thomas P. Gilson, MD, medical examiner of said county, that the dead body of a woman supposed to have come to her death as the result of criminal or other violent means, or by casualty, or by self-deletion, or suddenly when in apparent health, or in any suspicious or unusual manner. Okay. Ohio had been found in Metro Health Medical Center in Cleveland of Cuyahoga County. Okay, the 5th day of May of 2025. I viewed or caused to be viewed the said body at the medical examiner's office. After viewing and making inquiry into the circumstances that caused the death of the said person, I obtained further information. I also carefully examined or caused to be examined the said body, the dead body, at 8:33 a.m. on the 7th day of May 2025, and I found as follows to wit. So here's what he says he found. I, Thomas P. Gilson, MD, medical examiner of said county, having diligently inquired, do true presentments make in what manner Tasha D. Grant, whose body was at the medical examiner's office on the 7th day of May 2025, came to her death. The said Tasha D. Grant was never married, 39 years of age, a resident of Cleveland, Cuyahoga County, Ohio, and a native of Cleveland, Ohio, was of the black race and had brown eyes, black hair, beard, no beard, mustache, or whatever. Okay, we're going to skip past all that. Upon full inquiry, based on all the known facts, I find that said Tasha D. Grant came to her death officially on the 5th day of May 2025 in Metro Health Medical Center and was officially pronounced dead at 6:29 p.m. by Dr. Rodriguez. There is history that on May 5th of 2025, the said Tasha D. Grant, and they give her address, while admitted to Metro Health Medical Center at about 5:38 p.m. the same date, this woman became agitated and was physically restrained during legal intervention. At about 5:52 p.m., the said Tasha D. Grant was found unresponsive in a bed by nursing staff members. Treatment was administered. However, this woman failed to respond and was pronounced dead at the aforementioned time and date. The county medical examiner's office was notified, and Esposito Mortuary Services was dispatched. The said Tasha D. Grant was then transported to the medical examiner's office where an autopsy was performed. The death in this case was the end result of physical restraint in the setting of congestive heart failure due to ischemic cardiovascular disease, type 1 diabetes, mellitus, with an other condition of obesity, and was homicidal in nature. Do you all hear this? Because why the police officer or whoever he was talking about the officers couldn't have done this, well, they absolutely did do it, according to the medical examiner, and I think that he's the expert in this case. Now, the cause of death, it says right here, due to physical restraint in the setting of congestive heart failure, ischemic cardiovascular disease, and type 1 diabetes mellitus homicide. Okay, so that's basically all we need to know right there, and it's all signed and everything. So y'all hear this? I find it all interesting. So now I'm going to go to the body cam footage. Likes up, everyone, please. Like and share. Thank you in advance.
Months.
Well, newly released body camera footage shows the moments leading to the death of a Cuyahoga County jail inmate. While in custody, 39-year-old Tasha Grant was transferred to Metro Health for medical treatment before the medical examiner says she died from physical restraint. Annabelle Childers breaks down the footage, and we do want to forewarn you here. This is video that's hard to watch.
The Cuyahoga County Sheriff's Office just released 4 body camera footage clips showing interactions between 39-year-old Tasha Grant, Metro Health medical staff, and officers in early May. Court records reveal Grant was in jail awaiting trial on charges for assault on a peace officer, assault, and aggravated menacing. But officials say she was transported to Metro Health Medical Center for a pre-existing condition. The first clip was recorded May 2nd, and it starts with a heated exchange between Grant and a sheriff's deputy.
He me, I'm not in the mood for this. I can't catch another assault case. I cannot.
Over the next 10 minutes, the situation de-escalates, and Grant tells the deputy she's scared of staying in jail. She says she was arrested for missing a court date, and she's now required to complete mental health evaluations before her pretrial.
You need to let her know that I'm too sick to be in this jail. They're not giving me my medicine. They're not caring for me. Like, I'm scared I'm gonna die in here.
The second clip picks up at 10:47, the morning of May 5th. Grant has just thrown her food on the floor and is yelling that she's going to beat up the doctors and medical staff.
I don't want to go back there. Y'all ain't the ones that were sitting in the cell crying, begging for help. I'm the one getting mistreated.
The third clip is recorded hours later on May 5th, around 5:30 p.m. Medical staff tell officers that Grant, a double amputee, pushed herself off the bed, but they need to give her a shot.
You got objection to having her cuffed? Okay.
After talking with nurses,
Hey, I want you all to pay attention, if you would, please pay attention to the size of these officers. Look at the size of them. Now, this is ridiculous to me. It's so annoying because this woman had no legs. And she's sitting there talking about she's going to beat up the doctors and nurses. I would have laughed because you're not beating up anybody with no legs. All they had to do was grab her arms, in my opinion, and put her behind her back and cuff her, or however they were going to restrain her. You didn't have to do all of this. It's absolutely crazy. But let's continue.
deputies walk into Grant's hospital room.
I'm telling y'all, don't touch me. I'm not playing. Don't touch me, bro.
Miss Grant, we need to get you in the bed.
I ain't getting in no bed. I don't have to get in the bed.
Less than a minute later, the officers move in to restrain Grant, and a nurse gives her the shot.
Hey, hey, let's go. Let's go. Let's go.
Relax. He's trying to bite you.
As officers hold her down, Grant starts saying that she can't breathe. And when officers lift her on the bed, she says it over and over again.
Stop!
Hook her up, man.
I can't breathe.
Don't worry about the rest later.
I can't breathe.
Why not?
I can't breathe.
Lay on your side. No one's
I can't breathe.
that way.
I can't breathe.
Once Grant is on the bed, she becomes quiet, and the deputy ultimately leaves the room. We're not going to show the beginning of the fourth clip, but it picks up at 5:52 p.m. with a nurse screaming and beginning chest compressions.
Tasha Grant is coding. They got about 15 people in there working on her.
The autopsy report reveals Grant died May 5th. The Cuyahoga County medical examiner ruled her cause of death physical restraint in the setting of congestive heart failure due to ischemic cardiovascular disease and type 1 diabetes. And today I spoke with the lawyer representing Tasha Grant's family. He said the family watched that footage today and is devastated and disturbed by what they saw. They're still discussing what legal action they may or may not take.
Annabelle, thank you very much.
Okay, so that was hard to watch, and it doesn't make any sense. Okay, like I said, they didn't have to do all of that. Perplex said they did that intentionally. Yeah, they did. I'm sorry, it looks like they did. Christopher said 15 people standing around watching her die. Right, I'm just not understanding why the nurses, and was the doctor there too? I see him there after the fact, but was he there the entire time? Because why didn't somebody in the medical staff say something to the police about what they were doing to her and how they were doing it? They knew that this woman had a myriad of health issues, specifically congestive heart failure. And like I said, that could definitely, that amount of stress level, that anxiety, the fear of it all could absolutely make you have cardiac arrest. Okay? Could absolutely make you go into cardiac arrest. So very sad. And this woman had no legs, but we're supposed to think this is okay. Let's just move on. Now, let's get into the okay, Abdul said both red and blue, no matter who. Okay? Christopher said they were getting their story straight. Of course they were. That's absolutely what they were doing. Okay? Timothy said they purposely did it. Yeah, they did that. First of all, why are you being so forceful and so hostile with someone who has no legs, who's clearly not a threat? She can talk trash and say whatever, but you see that she's not physically capable of doing the things that she's threatening to do. Okay, she can't even stand up. So that's crazy. She can't even get herself back into a bed. If she can't stand up, how the hell is she going to beat up doctors and nurses? These police are just nefarious. And Ohio has some of the worst police, in my opinion. Okay, now with that all being said, let's get into the update about Sonya Massey, because you know that the officer who took her life with its low-down self, Sean Grayson, he testified. Okay, now they also released the jury instructions and the witness list. Let's go to the witness list first. And they say that they're going to be doing closing arguments as early as Wednesday, and then the jury deliberations. This case is not going to last long. It's going to be over with real quick. Okay, defense releases witness list in Sean Grayson murder trial. So Peoria, Illinois, day 6 of the Sean Grayson murder trial began Monday morning with major developments. The state resting its case and the defense calling Grayson himself to the stand. Now that's a bit unusual. And I'm really shocked that he even got up there to testify, especially after his own partner said that he was afraid. He did fear for his safety that night in question. But it wasn't from Sonya Massey. It was from Sean Grayson, his own partner. Why would he fear from him? Because that man's a whole demon. Who else besides a demonic person would get upset to the point of murderous behavior because someone said, I rebuke you in the name of Jesus? Okay? Does he ever go to church? Has he never heard anyone say that? I have so many questions. Anyway, Grayson, a former Sangamon County Sheriff's deputy, is charged with first-degree murder in the police shooting death of 36-year-old Sonya Massey inside her home in July of 2024. The trial, originally set in Springfield, was moved to Peoria due to extensive media coverage. Prosecutors say Grayson shot Massey after she called 911 to report a prowler. The encounter and the moments leading up to the shooting were captured on police body camera video that has now been shown multiple times in court. On Monday, the court also released the full list of witnesses that the defense plans to call to the stand. Their testimony is expected to provide key insight into the evidence presented and the events surrounding the shooting. Now, the defense witness list includes Glenn Corbett from Macon, Georgia, Kevin Davis, New Franklin, Ohio, Deputy Jason Eccleston, Sangamon County Sheriff's Department, Springfield, Illinois, Master Sergeant Nicholas Corte, Illinois State Police, Springfield, Illinois, Captain Audie Prang, Sangamon County Sheriff's Office or Sheriff's Department, Springfield, Illinois. Now, Massey, an unarmed Black woman, was killed in her Sangamon County home after calling for help. Her death sparked protests and renewed calls for justice, leading to policy changes within the Sheriff's Department and other county offices. The trial will continue this week as the defense presents its case, with closing statements expected in the coming days. Now, with that all being said, it's a darn shame that Black people have been taken up out of here, not just Sonya Massey, plenty of others, okay? I've reported on so many of them, just for calling the police for help. Okay, just for calling the police for help. I find that very interesting. Now they say second-degree murder will be part of jury instructions in Grayson's murder trial. Okay. The Grayson murder trial resumed Monday morning after wrapping last week. Grayson faces 3 counts of first-degree murder after Sonya Massey, a Black woman, was fatally shot in her home. Okay. Now, the second-degree murder part of the instructions, they say Judge Cadigan admonished Grayson to that effect at the end of court. Okay, Grayson, who testified earlier Monday, replied that he understood the instructions. Okay, court will convene at 8:30 a.m. on October the 28th to further formalize the instructions, which the jury will hear after closing arguments. Second-degree murder still involves intent without premeditation. Okay, because he was initially charged with first-degree murder. Now, Grayson could be sentenced for first degree, which carries a sentence of 45 to life. Second degree, however, which is 4 to 20 years, okay, that's what he could get, or he could be acquitted. Now, he's not going to be acquitted. He's going down for the count, okay? That was plain old murder, okay? That's what that was, and he should get first degree, okay? He doesn't need to do no 4 years. I'm going to be ticked off if he does. So anyway, defense rests its case and jury instructions coming. Now the defense has rested and the court will give jury instructions at 3:30 p.m. Closing arguments have now been set for Tuesday morning. Okay, so I'll update you all on that tomorrow. And the defense rested after use of force expert Kevin Davis said that he wrote his 67-page report on the fatal shooting of Sonya Massey neutrally, dispassionately. But state's attorney John Milhisser tried to poke holes into that notion. Okay, so on cross-examination, Milhisser said Davis used phrases like the clearly aggressive and attacking Sonya Massey, and that Massey flung the liquid, meaning the contents of the pot removed from the stove. Okay, now Wyckoff on redirect, asked Davis how many times in the report he cited his book, Use of Force Investigations, a manual for law enforcement. Davis said none. Wyckoff asked if he was on a book tour, a dig at the state's witness, Seth Stoughton. So another use of force expert. Now, Kevin Davis, a law enforcement officer for nearly 4 decades, a large chunk of it with the Akron, Ohio Police Department, said Grayson's actions during the shooting of Sonya Massey were in line with the Sacramento County Sheriff's Office lethal use of force policy and other generally accepted police practices. Oh, really? So shoot a person even when they're no threat. Oh, okay. Because why did he even think that she was going to throw that boiling water on him? So Davis has previously testified for the prosecution and defense. Like the testimony of Corbett, there would have been de-escalation if the pot had been put down by Massey. Davis, talking about the body-worn camera footage, said video is only part of the evidence, and a number of problems come up with the video digital evidence. Davis is about to be recross-examined. Now, use of force expert Glenn Corbett on cross-examination by Sacramento County First Assistant State's Attorney Mary Beth Rogers said the shooting of Sonya Massey in the face was a successful de-escalation. So shooting her in the face and taking her life was a successful de-escalation. For Corbett, de-escalation isn't a technique, but an outcome, though officers can be taught techniques to get to the outcome. De-escalation, he acknowledged, would have been achieved if Massey had put down the pot of boiling water. Now on the stand is another use of force expert, Kevin Davis of Akron, Ohio. Now, a use of force expert from Atlanta metro area testified that he came to the conclusion that Grayson's discharge of his firearm against Sonya Massey based policies and principles was appropriate. Glenn Corbett, who has a training and consulting business separate from his employment as an officer in Cayuga County, Georgia, said analysis has to consider the totality of the events leading up to the use of force. Corbett said it was a critical incident that turned into a use of force when Massey picked up the pot of boiling water from the stove and Grayson realized there was an imminent threat. There was no damn imminent threat. They're lying and they know it. And didn't he tell her to go cut that water off? Didn't one of the officers, if I'm not mistaken, correct me if I'm wrong, but didn't one of them tell her to go turn that water off? And she called them there for help. She thought there was a prowler. You see, the thing is, she should never have let them in her house. She should never have let them in her house because she told them the prowler was outside when she called 911. She thought there was a prowler outside of her house. I would not have let them in if I were her. Okay, I don't trust the police. I would have stepped outside. I just wish she had done that. But, hindsight is always 2020. Corbett, who testified in several criminal trials, mostly for the defense, said he reviewed police reports and body-worn camera footage prior to issuing a 15-page opinion on the matter. Now, the state will cross-examine Corbett when court resumes at 1 p.m. Okay, so with that all been said, let's go to the report about Grayson's testimony. And this is from CBS. Likes up, everyone, please. Like and share. Thank you in advance.
Make sure that we stay $15 a month.
Mince hot dogs will be $15 a month forever.
No, hold on. We don't sell hot dogs.
Yet.
Or ever.
Yet.
Testimony continues in the murder trial of the former Illinois deputy accused of killing Sonya Massey in her home last year. Sean Grayson took the stand in his own defense this morning, and he recalled the night of the shooting, stating he believed Massey was threatening to throw a pot of boiling water on him. So prosecutors asked Grayson about his account of the shooting, which was written several days after Massey was killed. Grayson's partner, the night of the shooting, already testified last week saying he was not afraid of Massey. Instead, he was afraid of Grayson. Grayson faces a maximum of life in prison for 3 counts of first-degree murder. Anna Schechter, senior coordinating producer with CBS News Crime and Public Safety Unit, joining us live now. Anna, how shocking was it that Grayson actually took the stand?
Well, I was really surprised this morning. We thought maybe he might, just to give his state of mind, but then boom, 9:05 a.m., he sat in that chair, and we were all, who have been following this case so closely, just really shocked. Wow, Sean Grayson himself is on the stand right now testifying after all of these witnesses have been explaining that Sonya Massey was actually not a threat. So this was a very big moment for those of us who have been following this case now for more than a year.
So Grayson said he used his gun rather than a taser because it would have been ineffective during the incident. So a use of force expert also testified that Grayson's decision was justified. So talk about that part of the testimony.
Sure, it's a great question because this was actually new information. We know from the reports filed right after, or in the month after this event, that he said he felt threatened by that boiling pot of water. But we never knew he was even considering or thought about potentially using a taser instead of a gun. He was asked this question on the stand today, and he said that he was worried that a taser wouldn't work because a taser has to go through clothing and actually clutch onto the skin, essentially. That's how it works. And that he says that he actually took the time to think that through and realized a taser wouldn't work and instead used a gun. So we'll see how a jury reacts to that, if they believe that. But that jumped out at me today because I've never seen any discussion of a taser being used. But yes, you're absolutely right that the defense did call a use of force expert to the stand who said that Grayson was acting in self-defense and de-escalating the situation by firing that firearm because of that pot of boiling water. That was his take, and the defense is leaning heavily into that. That is essentially their entire defense.
Anna Schechter. Anna, thank you.
Okay, so like I said, I'm still shocked that he got up there and testified. Hopefully he didn't do himself any favors, because I hope he gets found guilty of first degree, not second degree murder. Okay, now let's get into Trump. All right, let's get into it because, I told you all that Trump was having some medical issues allegedly, and that I believe that he absolutely did have at least one mini stroke. Okay, but now they're saying that he had an MRI. He came out and spoke on that when they asked him about it. So let's get into that first. Here we go.
Trump's high-stakes second largest economy now that the two sides appear to be on the brink of a trade deal that could avoid new tariffs. Just days before President Trump is set to meet with
See, Stan says he got mad when she rebuked him in the name of Jesus, period. Too big to be scared of some hot water. Right. That's what made him mad. And that's why I said he had to have demonic energy, okay? Because who else is going to get upset by that? All right. You just have to be a whole demon, period. All right. But thank you for your insight into the topic, beloved, and your contribution to the channel. Peace, love, and blessings. And that's absolutely what it was.
Chinese President Xi Jinping in South Korea, the Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent announced what he described as a substantial framework for that agreement, which includes provisions, they say, on fentanyl, China purchasing U.S. soybeans once again, rare earth exports coming out of China, and the ownership of TikTok. Aboard Air Force One, the president expressed high hopes about closing the deal.
We have China coming, and it's going to be very interesting. I have a lot of respect for President Xi, and we are going to, I think we're going to come away with a deal.
CNN's Kristen Holmes live in Tokyo for us right now. What more are you learning about this framework, Kristen?
Yeah, I mean, Kate, everything we know either comes from Secretary of Treasury Scott Bessent or his Chinese counterpart, and it doesn't all 100% line up. We haven't seen any kind of paperwork, any kind of actual framework. It's just snippets here and there. Scott Bessent has sounded incredibly bullish, whereas his Chinese counterpart sounded more reserved. Now, that's to be expected, but here's what we believe to be in this framework. One, when you talk about fentanyl, a further cooperation on stemming the flow of fentanyl into the U.S. Now, as you mentioned, soybeans, which is a huge issue in America, particularly for American farmers. China would buy a, quote, substantial amount of U.S. soybeans. China could delay export controls on rare earth minerals. This is what we heard from Bessent, that he expected some kind of deferral, possibly even up to a year. And just a reminder, Kate, that export control, that is what actually triggered President Trump to announce that November 1st they would have these 100% tariffs, which Bessent said essentially now no longer exist. So we're back to the drawing board on both of those, with a deferral on rare earths as well as this no 100% on tariffs. And then lastly, this finalizing of the deal on TikTok ownership, transferring that ownership to the United States. Bessent essentially said that was a done deal, only for the leaders to sign off on. The rest of this seems to be there's still a negotiation around it.
And Kristen, also, so there's a lot more to come on that, but also, what's the update on the president's health? Speaking to reporters on the way over, talking about getting an MRI.
Yeah, I mean, it was kind of a stunning moment. President Trump was asked specifically if he had gotten an MRI during his recent visit to Walter Reed. We know he had gotten, quote unquote, advanced imaging. That's what his doctor's note had said. And we even asked the press secretary the other day what advanced imaging was. She said she didn't know. He bluntly answered yes, that he had had an MRI. Now, he didn't answer why he got an MRI scan or what it was for exactly. But of course, in President Trump fashion, he said that it was great results, perfect results, that he went through the machine and it was all perfect. And then he went on to say, you have all this information, which of course we do not have. This was all news that he had gotten this MRI. So we've reached out to the White House to see if there are any other details that they're willing to provide on this MRI, what it was of, why he needed to get it. So far, radio silence.
We shall see. It's good to see, Kristen. Thank you so much. Sarah.
All right. Soon after touching down in Tokyo, the president met with Japan's emperor at the Imperial Palace. Tomorrow, he's set to hold talks with Japan's first female prime minister, Sonya Takaichi. This will be Takaichi's debut on the global stage, with billions of dollars in trade and defense commitments with the United States on the table. CNN's Hanako Montgomery is live in Tokyo for us. Can you set the stage for this critical meeting and how you see this will play out?
Hi, Sarah. It's good to see you. So we're largely expecting the two leaders to get along pretty well. They're both conservatives, they're both quite nationalistic, and they share a lot of the same personal and political values. So again, from the Japanese side, we are expecting Trump and Takaichi to get along well during their very first official bilateral summit. Now, sources tell me that Takaichi will likely lean into her close personal relationship that she shared with the former Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe. Now, Abe was very close to Trump. The two leaders played many rounds of golf together. They enjoyed Japanese culture together. They fed koi fish together at one point. So again, very colorful relationship. And Takaichi will likely be trying to emulate that with Trump because again, this is a very uncertain time for U.S.-Japan alliance, and especially when it comes to trade. So Takaichi will do her very best to really just have a good relationship with Trump, try to get as close to Trump as possible. Now, sources tell me that Takaichi will likely try to do that by gifting Trump golden golf balls and also a golf putter and really a golf club that Trump used when he used to play golf with the former Japanese prime minister. So again, engaging in golf diplomacy to try to get closer to the U.S. president. But there are some potential roadblocks ahead for the U.S.-Japan alliance, especially when it comes to trade.
Okay, you all heard that. Giving Trump some gold golf balls, really? Okay, he's out here just collecting all kinds of stuff, isn't he? I mean, gold golf balls, jets, you name it. $120 million from a private donor. Okay, said that he's going to pay himself $230 million for them filing charges against him, right? Don't y'all find this interesting? Anyway, let me say this about the MRI. There is something wrong with Trump. Trump has some sort of medical issue, okay? How do we know that? Because first of all, he admitted that he had advanced imaging done, i.e. an MRI. I can tell you that it is not standard to have an MRI done when you're having an annual physical, okay? That's what they don't do. If they're giving you an MRI, they're trying to find out an accurate diagnosis, okay, of something that is wrong with you. Okay, that's when they do an MRI. All right, there's something going on with the person and they want to get a more accurate diagnosis. That's why they do MRIs, or it's for detailed planning of a specific treatment. For example, if someone has maybe an aneurysm or something like that, like a pulmonary aneurysm. Okay, they want to do an MRI to see the size of it, to see to see the location of it, the size of it, to see if you need to be sent to a specialist, things like that. Okay, and they use it to monitor the progression of certain diseases. And so, yeah, something's definitely wrong with Trump. Okay, he can cut the cap at the end of the day. You don't get an MRI, honey, just for a regular physical. That's what you don't do. All right. And so, anyway, now with that all being said, let's talk about Maduro, the president of Venezuela. So he calls himself, the people say he just pretty much just stole the election and took over and made himself the president. Okay, but anyway, Venezuela's Maduro says the U.S. is fabricating a war against him. Defense Minister Vladimir Padrino Lopez says the country is conducting military exercises as the aircraft carrier USS Gerald Ford moves closer to Venezuela. So Venezuela's president Nicolas Maduro has said the United States government is fabricating a war against him as Washington sent the world's biggest warship towards the South American country. It signals a major escalation of the U.S.'s military presence in the region amid speculation of an attempt to overthrow the Venezuelan government. Now, Maduro said in a national broadcast on Friday night that U.S. President Donald Trump's administration is fabricating a new internal war as the aircraft carrier USS Gerald Ford, which can host up to 90 airplanes and attack helicopters, moves closer to Venezuela. He says Trump has accused him without providing any evidence, not even one shred, of being the leader of the organized crime gang, Tren de Aragua. Okay? He said the president over there is the leader of it. Now, I mean, I don't know. They say this man is a whole cartel. So that's what the citizens, some of them say. Now, he says they are fabricating an extravagant narrative, a vulgar, criminal, and totally fake one. Venezuela is a country that does not produce Coca-Cola leaves. That's what he said. So, I think Trump is trying to start a war. And this is no surprise to me because I told you all, whatever Trump's doing, I can guarantee you he's not doing it for moral or ethical reasons, because he's a good person, because he cares about humanity or anybody in it other than himself. Okay, I can guarantee you he's not doing it for that. So why would he be trying to start a war if in fact he is? Well, you know, I told you all, Trump would likely do something so he can stay in office for a third term, because that's his plan. Tren de Aragua, which traces its roots to a Venezuelan prison, is not known for having a big role in global drug trafficking, but for its involvement in contract killings, extortion, and people smuggling. Now, Maduro was widely accused of stealing last year's election in Venezuela, and countries, including the U.S., have called for him to go. Tensions are mounting in the region, with Trump saying that he has authorized CIA operations in Venezuela and that he's considering ground attacks against alleged drug cartels in the Caribbean country. Now, since September the 2nd, U.S. forces have bombed 10 boats, okay, one of them just the other day, and there's like 43 people deceased after all of these boats were bombed. Now, even though Maduro may be a cartel, he may be the problem, he may be the president over there who stole the election, but at the end of the day, these people being killed in these boats, Trump's not provided any shred of proof, no evidence to substantiate the fact that they were smugglers. And in fact, like I told you, one of them was a Trinidadian whose boat was disabled. Okay, so make it all make sense. These are war crimes, if you ask me. So anyway, he bombed 10 boats, with 8 of the attacks occurred in the Caribbean for their role in allegedly trafficking drugs into the U.S. At least 43 people have died in these attacks. United Nations officials and scholars of international law have said that the strikes are in clear violation of U.S. and international law and amount to extrajudicial executions. Do y'all hear this? Yeah, that's exactly what it amounts to. Okay, it's exactly what it amounts to. It's all crazy.
Emily?
Hold on, I'm going to share this video because caught in the middle, U.S. strikes spread fear among Caribbean fishermen. These people are scared to go out there and even make their living because they don't know if they're going to get blown up. Okay, and who wouldn't be? This is absolutely egregious. Trump is so low down and dirty, honey. Okay, just nefarious.
He still isn't convinced that he's dead, and they struggle to mourn his loss at a funeral without a body. They've received no official notification from their government that he has been killed. All they know is that he went out on his boat nearly 2 weeks ago and hasn't been heard from since. What they do have are these images posted on social media by Donald Trump. The U.S. president has accused 26-year-old Joseph and another Trinidadian man he was traveling with of being drug traffickers. Their presumed killing the result of the U.S. presence in the Caribbean Sea after the U.S. moved its warships to the region in what President Trump calls a war on drug traffickers. But Joseph's family insists that he was not involved in the drug trade.
But even if he was, they aren't supposed to kill him. If he was running drugs, then hold him and charge him. But killing him? No way.
Across Trinidad and Tobago, an island nation located just 11 kilometers from Venezuela, fishermen are dealing with the aftermath of the strikes. These waters are their lifeblood, but they've heard the news and seen the videos too.
We are worried. We can't go far off the shore because Trump is just killing people. Look at this money. This is all from selling my fish today. I don't need to traffic drugs.
But the country does lie on an important cocaine smuggling route through the region, and speedboats moving drugs do operate through these waters. As such, the White House is not the first to link these men to drug running.
Fishermen here tell us they've long been stigmatized as being part of the drug trade, when in fact they're just trying to make a living. This most recent strike, of course, only reinforces that notion, while also making their day-to-day work that much more difficult now. Someone here just told us that these days they only go far enough to fish so that they can swim back if necessary.
The Prime Minister, meanwhile, has expressed her support for Donald Trump's actions, even urging the U.S. to, quote, kill them all violently, referring to drug traffickers.
So I think it's early to tell how successful this particular strategy would be, but the main concern is that everyone is entitled to due process. And I just want to emphasize that the penalty for drug trafficking and human trafficking is not death.
For Trinidadian fishermen, the situation is unnerving. from their usually quiet corner of the Americas, they now find themselves thrust into geopolitics and talk of war. Most just want to get back to fishing without the fear of a U.S. strike hanging over them. Julia Galliano, Al Jazeera, Trinidad.
That's just such a shame. It is such a shame. And my friend who is currently in Trinidad told me today, that these people are concerned about all of this. People can't even make a living thanks to Trump and his foolishness. Having innocent people killed is real crazy. Okay, he absolutely needs to be in jail. These are war crimes. When are they going to do something about it is all I want to know. Now, Venezuela's defense minister, Vladimir Padrino Lopez, said Saturday the country is conducting military exercises to protect its coast against any potential covert operations. We're conducting an exercise that began 72 hours ago, a coastal defense exercise to protect ourselves, not only from large-scale military threats, but also to protect ourselves from drug trafficking, terrorist threats, and covert operations that aim to destabilize the country internally, he said. Venezuelan state television showed images of military personnel deployed in 9 coastal states and a member of Maduro's civilian militia carrying a Russian Igla-S shoulder-fired anti-aircraft missile. Now, CIA is present not only in Venezuela, but everywhere in the world, Padrino said. They may deploy countless CIA-affiliated units in covert operations from any part of the nation, but any attempt will fail. Since August, Washington has deployed a fleet of 8 U.S. Navy ships, 10 F-35 warplanes, and a nuclear-powered submarine for anti-drug operations. But Caracas maintains those maneuvers mask a plan to overthrow the Venezuelan government. Maduro said on Saturday he had started legal proceedings to revoke the citizenship and cancel the passport of opposition politician Leopoldo Lopez, whom he accuses of egging on an invasion. Lopez, a well-known Venezuelan opposition figure who has been exiled in Spain since 2020, has publicly expressed his support for the deployment of U.S. ships in the Caribbean and attacks on suspected drug trafficking vessels. Now, the opposition leader reacted on his X account, dismissing the move because, according to the Constitution, no Venezuelan born in Venezuela can have their nationality revoked. He once more expressed support for a U.S. military deployment and military actions in the country. Lopez spent more than 3 years in a military prison after participating in an anti-government protest in 2014. He was sentenced to more than 13 years in prison on charges of instigation and conspiracy to commit a crime. He was later granted house arrest, and after being released by a group of military personnel during a political crisis in Venezuela, left the country in 2020. In the meantime, the U.S. has also put Colombia's leadership in its crosshairs. The U.S. Department of Treasury slapped sanctions on Colombian President Gustavo Petro and his family and the South American country's Interior Minister, Armando Benedetti. Friday's decision marked a significant escalation in the ongoing feud between the left-wing Petro and its U.S. counterpart, the right-wing Trump. In a statement, the U.S. Treasury accused Petro of failing to rein in Colombia's Coca-Cola industry and of shielding criminal groups from accountability. Now, the Treasury cited Petro's a total peace plan, an initiative designed to bring an end to Colombia's 6-decade-long internal conflict through negotiations with armed rebels and criminal organizations. Petro is a prolific social media user, quickly shot back that the Treasury's decision was the culmination of long-standing Republican threats, including from U.S. Senator Bernie Moreno, a critic of his presidency. Oh, honey, it's getting serious out here. Do y'all hear it? It is getting serious out here. Now, there's going to be a whole lot in the coming days, I'm sure. With that all being said, let's get into it because the farmers are saying that Trump basically sold them all out, okay, for Argentina. And I've already told you about the soybean deal he's got with Argentina, but now talking about getting his beef from them as well. And then talking about how they're struggling. What about your own country, fool? What about the United States and how this country is struggling? Trump said America first, MAGA. What y'all got to say now? Make it all make sense. Okay, make it all make sense.
Heard that Trump's Treasury Secretary, a guy named Scott Bessent, has recently given Argentina a $20 billion bailout to help bail out his billionaire buddy. But this shit just got so much worse, and it is exactly what is wrong with the corruption in Washington, D.C. right now. It's a little complicated, but stick with me. First, China stops buying American soybeans because of Donald Trump's tariffs, which are absolutely devastating farmers in Iowa and across the country by raising input costs and lowering their market prices. So our farmers, most of them are losing money on the beans that they're harvesting in the field literally right now. Meanwhile, Argentina is selling a record amount of soybeans to China to meet their demand. And the Argentine president is this guy named Javier Milei. Remember when Elon Musk had that chainsaw earlier this year at CPAC? Javier was the guy who gave it to him. He is a staunch ally of the Trump administration, and he's up for re-election this year. And then there's Vicent's billionaire buddy, a guy named Rob Citrone. He's got a lot of money tied up in the Argentine economy and needs Malay's government to get their peso, their currency, back on track. So now, not only is the Treasury Secretary planning to give another $20 billion to Argentina, that's $40 billion of taxpayer money for those of you who are keeping track at home, Donald Trump just announced that he wants the United States to import more beef from Argentina. So it's not just soybean farmers. Now Trump's selling out American cattle producers and ranchers. Like, what are we even talking about here, right? I mean, this is insanely, blatantly corrupt. They are gutting American agriculture, and for what? To make Argentina great again. This isn't what Iowans voted for, and our representatives and senators in Congress aren't doing anything to stop it. Ashley Hinson and Iowa Republicans have been a rubber stamp for reckless policies from the White House that Ashley Hinson knows are hurting Iowans. She said so herself, but she voted for it anyway. It's exactly what's wrong with Washington. It's exactly why I'm running for the United States Senate, so we can bring real change that will actually fight for our state instead of selling us out to Argentina. You might have heard that.
Okay, so you all heard that. Now, songwriter Sonny says this is avoidable, especially for any competent president, unless it's the assignment. Well, guess what? I think it is the assignment. I told you all days ago that, in fact, I believe that that is Trump's assignment to completely dismantle America. Okay? To completely dismantle America. And here's the thing. The reason he would be doing all of this towards Venezuela, in my opinion, is because when America starts wars, it's always because they want something from the countries, in my opinion. It's always the oil, the minerals. It's always something. Okay. It was the poppy seeds over there in Afghanistan when they went over talking about they're trying to put the Taliban out of leadership. But when they left 20 years later, yeah, the Taliban was right back in leadership. Were they not? So please make it all make sense. Now, here's the thing. Does the U.S. need Venezuela's oil? Well, of course they do, especially for the refineries on the Gulf Coast that are configured to process its heavy crude. Okay, now the imports have been limited due to sanctions. Okay, the U.S. has resumed some imports under specific licenses, and the absence of Venezuelan oil forces refiners to find less ideal and more expensive alternatives, impacting energy stability. Now, the U.S. Gulf Coast has a high concentration of refineries specifically designed to process the type of heavy crude oil that Venezuela produces. Venezuelan crude is a cost-effective option for those specific refineries. When the supply is disrupted, refiners must seek out more expensive and lower quality alternatives that are not ideal for their facilities. Now, the U.S. stopped importing Venezuelan oil in 2019 after imposing sanctions on the state-owned oil company. Okay, they say sanctions were temporarily eased in 2022, allowing companies like Chevron to resume exports to the U.S. Some sanctions were reimposed in April of 2024 because of concerns about fair elections, but the U.S. government has maintained some individual licenses to allow for continued limited oil operations and imports. Okay, and here's the thing too. Trump's going to do anything and everything. They're literally going to have to drag him kicking and screaming out of that White House. Okay. I told you all that man's not sitting there spending $300 million on a new ballroom. Okay. With all of the gold accessories and decor that is also ghetto, if you ask me, but that's what he wants to do. And then naming it after himself if he thought he was leaving. And I do hope that the next president who's in office after him absolutely gets rid of that ballroom because it's hideous. Okay. With that all being said, let's go to this next farmer who is clearly disgruntled, as he should be. But the funny thing is, these people that are complaining, I keep telling y'all, they all voted for Trump, most of them. Okay, these people voted for Trump, and this is what they get.
Up today because Trump says we're going to import all this beef from Argentina. We're going to lower our beef prices because the beef's too expensive here. And I thought I'd throw my 2 cents in. First of all, it's not really a new thing to import beef. We've imported beef in this country for a long time. What is new, however, is the government getting involved because of the prices and saying the beef prices are too high. We're going to make a deal. We're going to buy a bunch of beef from Argentina and we're going to undercut the American farmers and ranchers who are finally making some decent money. And that's just, it's a socialist mindset, if you ask me. That's not what I've grown up thinking as an American market, you know, supply and demand. Where did that go? Everybody's wound up today because Trump says we're going to import all this beef from Argentina. We're going to lower our beef prices.
Sorry, forgot I was muted. Now, with that all been said, let's go to what Cory Booker had to say about how Trump won't lower health costs. Likes up, everyone. Please don't forget to like and share. Thank you in advance.
Outrageous. Donald Trump is bailing Argentina out. At the same time, he says he has no resources to help Americans have affordable health care.
My question is, what do you have to say to U.S. farmers who feel that the deal is benefiting Argentina more than it is them, as they are a top
Argentina's fighting for its life. Young lady, you don't know anything about it.
This is outrageous. We know that Donald Trump has said clearly, I am not going to help lower health care costs. In fact, I'm going to gut the resources that a lot of Americans rely on. What makes this even worse is that he's kneecapping American farmers with his trade war with China, because China has decided not to buy their soybeans from America anymore. They're going where? Argentina, helping their economy, while he's hitting Americans twice, hitting American farmers who are losing their markets, and he's hitting Americans who are losing health coverage or paying the higher costs that he is causing. This is outrageous. Donald Trump is bailing Argentina out.
Okay, so it looks like MAGA got fooled because clearly this ain't America First behavior. Okay, and like the guy said in the video, Congress isn't doing anything. Okay, where are the Democrats on this? Why aren't they doing anything to bring consequences to this man? I thought they said they weren't going to impeach him, but they were instead going to use Article 2 to bring him down. Well, I haven't seen them do anything as of yet. Okay, did I miss something? I'm waiting to see how this all turns out because right now it's a whole shit show. Okay, excuse my French. All right, so anyway, that's the news for now, beloveds. Please like and share. Don't forget to double check and make sure you're still subscribed to the channel, especially if you have not been receiving the notifications. All right, so that all been said, I love you all to life. I hope you enjoy the rest of this evening, and I will see you all in the morning for your morning wake-up call. Until then, beloveds, each one teach one. That's how we grow and thrive. Do something productive, constructive, but never destructive, and always remember to keep the Most High first in your lives. Peace.
Hit him with that gold all in my skin, God all in my blood, kings all in my circle. You touch one of mine and you're done. They show no love for the queen. Why you hating on me? Is it cause I'm free and I got Malcolm X in my jeans? I got dreams like King Luther, shed blood like Kunta. You ain't helping my people, I ain't got nothing to say to ya. I want all the smoke like hookah. Talking reparations, America won't be great until they give us compensation. I'm like, I'm the hottest right now. See a bunch of lames out here trying to jock on my style. They be doing too much. I'm the queen, it's too easy. It's like they all at Popeyes, how they be talking so greasy. I just sit back and laugh while these haters get madder. So nefarious how they don't want my pockets with cheddar. I tell them they can do better. These snakes in the grass can leave a bite on your ass, cause y'all be trusting too fast. I got my foot on the gas, other one on they necks. Dropping receipts on haters, you better show some respect. I'm never facing regrets, we only facing the threats. Running through every challenge like a relay, break no sweat. It's a cold game, so I got that blanket with me. Now that my people awaken, ain't no going to sleep. I I do not play by my piece. This time I'm playing for keeps. You talking slick, but when I see you like them ends, we gon' meet. And I got gold all in my skin, God all in my blood, kings all in my circle. You touch one of mine and you done. They show no love for the queen. Why they hating on me? Is it cause I'm free and I got Malcolm X in my jeans and I got gold all in my skin, God all in my blood, kings all in my circle. You touch one of mine and you done. They show no love for the queen. Why they hating on me? Is it cause